If you are reasonably new to FM24 fantasy draft mode and are wanting to get to grips with the shortlisting side of things, how to make a shortlist, what the best kind of thinking is around shortlists, then this is the video for you. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Pokes and welcome to this video all about shortlisting in the fantasy draft mode in FM24. Maybe you've never done a draft before but you're wanting to get into it, or maybe you're reasonably new to it and just wanting to learn a little bit more about how to put these shortlists together, whether you're in the draft or not in the draft yet and you just want a little bit of advice. This video is all about that, and this is all about helping you to get to that point in your preparation for a draft so that you can go and smash your mates at draft mode. It's as simple as that. So before I throw myself into it, I just want to say, if you like this video, please hit that like button. All that does is it means it gets into more people's feeds so that they can watch this content too. And if you have liked it and you want to see more FM24 content from me, then do hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you join the subscription list of people for this channel too. And if you weren't aware, I also stream live on twitch.tv/PokesFM every week, so where I'll be doing my main sort of career save on FM24. Would love for you to come and join in the chat there. We have a lot of fun all together, so do come and say hello over there. But anyway, back to shortlisting. Let's get to it. The main thing I want you to take away from this video, I'm going to tell you right now so it gets in your head. Now that doesn't mean I want you to click off this video. Keep watching this video because it's great content. But the main thing I want to tell you is that if at all possible, when you are coming to draft, see if you can make shortlists, or at least a shortlist, before you get to the draft. Now hear me, I'm not talking about the kind of 1 or 5 or 10 minutes that you get before the draft itself when you're sat there with it in front of you and making the shortlist then that everybody does. I mean, if at all possible, sometime before the draft, whether it be a week or a couple of days or even just a few hours before the draft, put shortlists together so that when you come to the shortlisting time, you don't have as much work to do, but also it is no way near as stressful for you. Trust me, if you've ever done draft before, you'll know that when you sit there at that draft moment and the timer is ticking away there for the shortlisting time, if you don't have a shortlist ready to go, it is super stressful. So the best thing to do is have shortlists already ready to go that you can load into your game ready, and you can kick back and relaxed while all your mates are freaking out. You know what they say? If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. That's what someone really clever once said. Let me show you how. So this is what the shortlisting screen and the drafting screen to many ways looks like when you come into it after you've set up your draft. You can see there at the top left, you can see it says shortlist there, and you can click on that tab and you'll bring up your shortlist, which for me at the moment has nobody in it. Now let's pretend that we aren't actually doing the draft now with your mates. You haven't got your friends or your family members or your dog or whatever in the Discord call. It's just you sat on your own. You're about a few days away before you're drafting. What I would suggest you do is to jump into a draft, set yourself up a draft and make a shortlist before you draft. It's as simple as that. You've got time, you've got a 10-minute window here which I've set up for myself that's ticking down as we speak, but actually you can really take your time to really build up a shortlist in it that you can clearly see from a draft perspective, and you can see who's exactly in the in the pool and everything else and how much they cost, and you can put it together this way. Remember, you can do things like you can right click here and add any sort of columns that you'd like there, and if it comes to ability or attributes there, you want particular attributes for your players, you can highlight them, bring those kind of things in. You can put here, maybe you want certain players with international caps and see who's got the most international caps, and you're like, you know what, I really want Ronaldo. Why wouldn't you? Use these things, use these tools as you would in a real game. Now, what I would really recommend you do is put this shortlist together, and the simple way you do that is by clicking the little blue icon next to any of the players that you really like. So you just start clicking away and they fade out slightly, and that's how you know that they are on your shortlist, as well as their name turning yellow, as it is in the real game anyway, in the full game. You then turn to your shortlist, which has it in brackets how many are in your shortlist, which is 7 players for me at the moment there, which is great. And lo and behold, there's your shortlist coming together. Now, if this is a couple of days before the draft, you can then click Save Shortlist here and give it a name. So I'm going to give it a name, Prep Work, right? You're doing your prep work now. So on the day of the draft, it is sorted, it is ready to go, and you can then just load up your draft super quick, super easy, ready to go, so that your shortlist is there, ready for the draft. So that is how you do your prep work. Jump into the draft a few days before or sometime before, get your shortlist ready, get it saved into that folder, ready for the day that you do your draft. Now, let's pretend we're on draft day now. Your mates are ready. It's Friday night. You're desperate to smash them in this draft. You've done your prep work. Now it's just about putting it into action. Let me show you how to do that. So here we are back on the shortlisting screen, and it is now draft night. Your friends are freaking out because they can see the time running down. They haven't done any prep work because they're silly billies, but you have. So all you got to do is to click on import shortlist, click on your shortlist that you prepared before, in this case prep work as we saw, load it up, and it goes shortlist imported successfully into default. So you now click on your shortlist tab, and lo and behold, there is your shortlist that you put together. It's beautiful, and it's as simple as that. It means that you can then go back into Find a Player and you can start having a little look through who else you might like to add to the shortlist, and you just start clicking their names as you would. And so your shortlist just begins to build up like that. Now, one thing I also want to kind of let you know about. Now, this probably is like, well, obviously this is the case, but any shortlists that you have made in your main career save, in your single player save on Football Manager 2024, you can import them as well. And the relevant players that are on that shortlist will transfer into this draft shortlist too. So as an example of that, I just want to show you this one here. This Everton players shortlist that I have put together randomly just for this video. I don't know why I needed an Everton players shortlist, but I've put one together just for this video. If this is made on my single player save that I'm doing with Brighton at the minute, I can load that in. Now on that shortlist, I know for a fact there were 39 names on that shortlist, 39 Everton players. Now, if you look down here, if I were to just well, if I do a little filter here for you and just show which of the players actually on here, club, and we go Everton, you'll see the numbers of players that we have here. It is drastically less than 39. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 names. That's because the whole of the Everton squad that's on my shortlist on my main save aren't actually in the drafting database. It's worth bearing that in mind. And the other obvious thing to mention is that, as you can see, the prices on here are different to how they are in real life, in game life, as it were. So it's worth bearing that in mind, but it's such a handy tool on draft that you can use not only your shortlists that you've made particularly for draft, but you can bring in shortlists from your main saves too. And you can just keep loading in as many shortlists as you like. And quite frankly, all that does is it just continues to layer on top of each other. So here we'll have here my prep work shortlist, my Everton players shortlist, and I can go into import shortlist, and I've got here a draft shortlist that I've put together as well. I'll bring that in as well, and then before you look at it, I've got even more players there now. And so if you have multiple shortlists in your arsenal ready to go, it is worth loading them in so that they are all loaded in there. What's that? What about the restrictions and draft restrictions, and how does that impact your shortlisting? Let me tell you. For those of you who were interested in Football Manager 2024 and were reading about all the features, you'll know of 2 bullet points that Sports Interactive made about changes to draft modes. One of them was about a skip round thing, which is to do with the drafting itself, but one was about restrictions. Now, let me get my phone and read it to you, and it'll pop up on the screen right now. The shortlist functionality during the draft now shows all the players you have shortlisted instead of only those players who match the restrictions. Now that comes with a bit of a caveat that I want to explain right now. So let's say, for example, you had set up a draft with a world pool of players, but you'd set up the restriction for all of the picks that the players can be at most 23 years of age. Now that is considered a restriction, and in the case of that, you will see, as we can see here from this draft, that actually no players above the age of 23 are showing up, right? So When you therefore load up your shortlists, even though your shortlist will have players in it above the age of 23, when you look at your shortlist after you've loaded them up, they will not show up on your shortlist. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense, because you can see it right here, right? It makes sense. Now, personally, I think this is a good thing, because I think you can get yourself in a bit of a muddle if you see too many players and then you come to the actual draft bit and you realise you can't actually draft them in the first place because they're too old for the draft pool. Do you get what I mean? It's annoying. So actually, it's a helpful thing that at this stage, if you've got a restriction for the whole draft, you simply won't see those players in your shortlist. So what is this feature then? What does it even really mean? Let me explain. What the restrictions that Sports Interactive were referring to here were the range restrictions. So, for example, say you have a world pool and there are no restrictions except for picks 1 to 5, where at the most players can be 23 years old. That means that when you then jump into the draft side of things for real, not just in the shortlisting bit, but for real, the players that are above 23 will still be showing in those picks 1 to 5. You just won't be able to pick them there and then, but you know they're still sat there in your shortlist. So as soon as you get past that 5th pick and you're allowed to get any players that you like, you know they're there ready to be picked. So it's as simple as that. So now you know all about shortlisting. What do you do with this stuff? I want to recommend that you might want to go to town, because the world is your oyster in creating as many and as big or as small or as niche shortlists as you would love to. But where do you start? If you haven't got any shortlists at all at the beginning, particularly in the draft side of things, what do you do? What do you start with? Now, I want to recommend you start with 3 shortlists. One is a low budget shortlist, which is if you have a budget of around sort of 50 to 100 million to spend. One medium budget, which is if you're looking to do a draft of around, say, somewhere between 200 and 300 million, and then a high-end budget where you're looking at sort of 550 plus million. Then those 3 shortlists are a good sort of starter for you, so that if you get thrown a draft pool that is super low, you can go, boom, I've got a low budget shortlist ready to go. It's a good place to start, but you might then want to begin to add more shortlists depending on the types of drafts that you're wanting to do. Remember, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Stop saying that. It's really lame. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope it's been helpful to you. If it has, hit that like button. And if you want more content from me, then do hit that subscribe button as well. Also, maybe you've got your own ideas about shortlisting, about the types of shortlists you do, or any tips and hints around the shortlisting side of things when it comes to draft mode. Then do leave comments below with those ideas, with those types of shortlists. We would love to hear your thoughts and ideas. And to be honest, I might then steal those ideas. So do leave them in the comments. We'd love to read them. And why not, at the end of this video, why don't you go and have a read of the comments and see what other people have put when it comes to ideas for shortlisting? I would love to hear them. But anyway, that's it for me for now. I'll see you soon. See you later.